Perfect. So we're delighted to be joined by Xavier of Rocher de Violette and Sylvain of Domaine Grosbois here in the Loire Valley. And we discovered Xavier at the Angers Wine Fair. I think we asked a grower who made the best pet nat in the room, and he took us over to Xavier's table, and another box ticked was he was very well written up in the Dirty Guide to Wine by Pascaline Lepautier. And I think the following year, Xavier introduced us to the Grosbois as they share a stand at the Angers Wine Fair.
Yeah.
Because we were looking for a new Chinon at the time, so it was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Anyway, over to you, Xavier, to talk about your fantastic wines.
And just to add in as well, if anyone has any questions during the webinar, feel free to ask them using the chat function at any time, and we'll post them to Xavier and Sylvain. Over to you, Xavier.
I'm sorry?
Oh, could you tell us about your wonderful domain and your wines? The story of how you came about working, starting a vineyard in Montlouis.
It's my story started just 15 years ago now. I have discovered the wine in Chablis during my study, and before I don't know the wine. I have discovered we do a wine with grape. Before I think it's with apple, and it's there's 20 years ago I have lived 2 years in Chablis, and after that I want to do winemaker, and I have learned after in Bonn, and I have worked 4 years in Gigondas in Château de Saint-Côme. Over there I have discovered the work into the cellar, into the vine, and in 2004 I have decided to buy a land, and my first motivation be buy some land in Burgundy, but the problem, in Burgundy it's very expensive, and my choice be go for the Loire Valley. It's less cheaper, and we do a fantastic vine with some Sauvignon, Chinon, and Cabernet Franc. I have buy 6 hectares in 05, 6 hectares in Chinon, in Montlouis appellation. On the picture you can see the soil. This soil, it's Le Moulin. Over there we do the natural sparkling wine on this young vine. On the first, we have buy a cellar into Amboise, and the name of the cellar it's Le Rocher des Violettes. That for the, and we use this name, this cadastral name, for my estate, and actually we grow 18 hectares in Montlouis.
And can you
organically?
And so organic. You farm organically. Do you follow any biodynamics as well? What are your thoughts on biodynamics?
For the moment, we are not biodynamic. We used some purin d'ortie, purin de prêle, but nothing is dynamisate.
Yeah.
I have need to learn again, and to maîtrise everything, to use
certified organic. And can you tell us about the different grapes that you grow?
In my estate, we have in white grapes we have Chardonnay and Chenin Blanc. And on the red grapes, we have Malbec. On the local name is the Co. Cabernet Franc, little bit Gros Lot, Gamay, and Pinot Noir.
Okay.
We're enjoying a glass of your beautiful Pétillant Original at the moment, and absolutely stunning. I mean, it's such a beautiful wine. Really, really gorgeous. Could you tell us about how you make this? And being a pet nat, but you call it in Montlouis, it's Pétillant Original, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a new trade. It's a new appellation since 2 years. Montlouis Original. To do that, we have need to follow some a specific technique, and we have do cahier des charges. How do you say cahier des charges? You understand?
Cahier des charges.
I understand.
Sorry?
What did you say, Phil?
Like a chart. It's like a chart for
Regulations, regulation.
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a natural sparkling wine, it's a wine bottled in fermentation. This is the first level. To do my wine, we bottled usually one month after the harvest in fermentation in November, when we have around 12 grams of natural sugar into the juice. We harvest around 13.5 alcohol level, and obviously the fermentation starts alone, and after 1 month, when we have the équilibre, when we have the balance, we bottled, and if everything is good, the fermentation finish into the bottles, and we added just a little bit sulfite, usually 1 grams of sulfite, and we bottled, and after 2 or 3 years, we disgorge the wine to clear the wine, to avoid a little bit deposit into the bottle.
Well, it's absolutely
This is quite delicious.
And for this cuvée, it's a young vine, Le Moulin be planted in 2011, but it's very interesting why it's massal selection. And this massal selection come from my oldest Chenin Blanc.
Okay.
And this vine be planted in 1922, and it's very old vine. And we have do a selection of the better plants into the old vine, and we have replant some land with the selection.
And if we could kind of stick on the old vine theme, remind me how old your Malbec vines are, your co vines. How old are they again?
We have 7 different plots of Malbec, of co, and my oldest co be planted in 1891.
Oh, wow.
And we have same the other cuvée. We have do massal selection of very old co, and we have replant some land with a co.
Yeah, and you have another very old vine cuvée, I think, as well, Les Vignes de Michel.
Yes, it's this vine be planted in Le Grand Poirier. This is the name of this soil, but it's a homage of the ex-owner of my estates, Michel Morin. And I have by 6 hectares to start of this guy. And there is 4 years ago now, this guy tell me I have 0.5 hectares again of vine, and if you want this vine, I sell you. And this vine be planted just after the phylloxera. It's very, very old vine, And in homage of this guy, I have a specific cuvée, 2 year on 500 liters barrels, and it's very interesting cuvée.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, fantastic.
And do you mind telling us about the other Chinons that we do with you? Tushmitten, is it a difference in where, is it a different soil type for Tushmitten? Yeah.
Exactly. We grow 6 different big plots, and Tushmitten, it's my bigger soil. We have 5 hectares on this plot. It's clay on limestone with a silex, and we have a lot of different age of vine on this plot. Some vine be planted there is 50 years ago. Some vine be planted with me in 2009, 2010. And we blend all the different vine. We ferment on a small oak barrels, 228 liters, and we aged this wine during 1 year. And this terroir, it's very specific, why that gives a lot of acidity and a lot of minerality, and it's a nice expression of the Chinon in Montlouis with a very strict style, very mineral, and it's very interesting soil.
That's lovely. And you do another cuvée, I think, Negrette, which comes from the older vines as well. Could you tell us?
Yes, Negrette, it's a soil into the forest. It's a small plot into one part of the forest d'Amboise. It's a very unusual soil. Why it's only silex and sand. It's a very on this plot we need to harvest 2 or 3 weeks after Tushmitten, and the ripeness comes from very slowly, and we have all the time more acidity and more complexity, but it's very old vine. And for this cuvée, we aged on a 500 liters barrels during 1 year, like Tushmitten, but a little bit new oak, 30% new oak.
Okay. And I think we were talking about the co earlier as well. Do you mind? Apologies if I missed it, but the soil types for the co.
The co be planted in all the different soil.
Okay.
We have seven plots, and we blend all the different plots. And we have some co in sand soil, silt soil, and clay on limestone. And we have all the different soil you can find on Montlouis. It's into my Malbec, into the co.
Okay.
And we harvest on the same time the different plot of co, and we do a co-fermentation, all cluster with a little bit distempt. We distempt a little bit some co. We put all cluster grapes under the vat, and on the top we put some distempt grapes.
Okay.
And we do the fermentation like that.
Okay.
80% all cluster, 10% distant.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
And there's a question here just asking about the differences between Montlouis and Vouvray. The main differences between the two areas, because Vouvray I'd say is more well known, but what would for you are the main differences?
The big difference between Montlouis and Vouvray, it's clay. If you compare analysis of soil, Vouvray it's 50% of clay. And Montlouis, it's 30% of clay. And after sand and silt. And when you see a cup of soil,
Yeah.
Vouvray, it's on one other geologic age.
Yeah.
And Vouvray, it's 15 up to 20 meters above Montlouis.
Okay.
And there is some erosion in Montlouis, and you don't have this erosion in Vouvray. And these two soils, it's different. And Montlouis is here, Vouvray is here, and between Montlouis, you have two rivers, the Cher River and the Loire River. And when you have some flowing, a long time ago, Montlouis be submerged.
Submerged.
And there is some deposit of sand, and you don't have that in Vouvray. Vouvray it's higher, and there is never some immersion.
Okay.
You understand? Or
Yeah.
It's the words are very similar, actually.
No.
I think erosion.
Yeah, I understand it far better than I ever have, so I really appreciate that explanation as well, actually. So
and usually, Montlouis, we harvest 1.5, 2 weeks before Vouvray.
Yeah.
Why the soil it's more sandy.
Okay.
And the sand give the height during the spring, and the vine starts 1 week before Montlouis, before Vouvray.
Okay. And do you think you'd be able to taste sometimes the difference? Because I think you own some land in Vouvray, which is then labelled as Vin de France. Is that right?
Yes, it's in 2016 we have lost all the production in Montlouis, and we have buy some grapes in Vouvray.
Okay.
Was that cuvée gel? Cuvée gel? Cuvée gel?
No, cuvée gel come from my estate.
Oh, sorry.
Cuvée in 16 we produce only 2,000 bottles on Montlouis, on my estate. It's a very and that for since this time we have buy some fan frost to avoid the frost.
Amazing, yeah.
And just with your Chenons, and you've got some different cuvées with different ages of the vines. How would you say the taste of, as the vines get older, how would you say the taste of the wine changes? So like,
Si les vignes, si les vignes sont plus âgées, les vignes, s'ils sont plus âgés, c'est quoi la différence pour le Chinon?
Pour déguster.
When the vine be more aged with the Chinon or the other grapes, we have more minerality, more acidity, and less alcohol. Usually, the each year, the vine do the same green part and root part. Each year, when you have 1 meter grow inside upside, you have the same croissance
downwards.
And after 30 years, the vine can be explored 20 or 25 meters under the soil.
Wow.
And it's the same thing in the tuffeau, in the mother rock in Loire Valley. The vine can be explore the fissure into the soil up to 30, 50 meters under the soil, and it's that give more acidity and more complexity into the wine.
Fantastic, thank you. And yeah, no, I must say we absolutely adore your wines. And Sylvain, I think we need to speak a bit about your wines too, and hear about your lovely wines from Chinon.
We need to get.
It was good to hear.
Yeah.
Juliette as well, Xavier. Because, well, the estate, it's we are two brothers. It's coming from our parents. We're in Chinon, Cabernet Franc, 100%. We grow organic and biodynamic. Nicolas came back to the vineyard, or to the family estate in 2008 after traveling quite a lot around the world, and he has a formation in Burgundy as well, in the Loire and Burgundy for his degrees of viticulture. He came back so in 2008 just by himself without our parents. And well, he started to make up some cuvée with all of the different blocks we have around the house. And then I came back in 2018 after as well a few vintage around the world. That the estate we can see and the cellar. We do hand picking, spontaneous fermentation. We use gravity for. We're not using any pump for in the tanks, and for Cuisine de Mamelle, it's a very short maceration, around 4 or 5 days of maceration. The aim is just to get the fruit. That fresh fruit, they're quite light, just to be able to enjoy it quite early.
Again, Sylvain, this is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I just feel that the Loire Valley, I love places like Burgundy and things like that. I mean, of course, everybody likes a bit of Burgundy from time to time, but the Loire Valley is just one of those places which, I mean, the whites, the reds, it's. I just feel like the whole world is falling more and more in love with it, and I mean it's in the hearts of all sommeliers, and it's so exciting. This is stunning.
Yeah, I agree, and I think because I've been traveling a bit before, and I can have that overview as well. I'm not telling at all because I just came back, so I haven't really I've been involved to the wine for sure, but. I think that's the positive point in Loire is you have a lot of young winemakers, as Xavier, as Nicolas, as others, who are very involved with their terroir, and I think that's what makes the story and the back in the wines, and it's really much one innovation as well, because. You don't have recipe, just learning. So everyone is making mistake and try to get the better way to actually manage his wine.
Yeah, no, you can really feel that when we go to the Loire wine fairs, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of young winemakers experimenting. I mean, starting a domain. It's of course very difficult, and the land is slightly less expensive in Loire than some of the most sort of traditional regions in France, and so we're lucky to have that real energy and passion, and doing things a bit differently as well.
And it feels like there's quite a lot of sharing also. I think I don't know whether it was like that previously, but it just really feels like everyone's kind of, like you're both saying, kind of sharing together and sharing know-how, and yeah, it's really wonderful. So can you tell us about this? There's
a lot for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of what?
You don't share with everyone, as
No, not
All right.
we're not political, but yes, we try to share as much as we can.
Great. Yeah, and we've got our friend Steve Cooper saying the fruit on the Chinon 19 is stunning. And Mark has asked, Nicolas, as your Chinon...
He says sorry, Sylvain.
Sylvain, sorry, Sylvain, yeah. Just reading the script. As your Chinon is called Cuisine de ma mère, what do you think would be the best dish to complement this wine?
Well, I think it's if you test if we started from the 17 to the 20, I'm not sure if you tested the November 2020. Is it the millésime you're tasting now, Emma Charlie? Or
We've got a 19 here.
19.
Yeah.
I think we made a very much big jump in the 20. It's very juicier, I thought. As the 19 was maybe I shouldn't say that, but very Chinon, very typical, and we are very happy with the 2020 because it's very juicy, very easy, and very fruit driven. For the 19, I would say you have a bit more character and maybe something not as with a big red wine sauce, but something lighter, as it could be chicken or something quite lighter. After for the other cuvée, I think we could go for something with a bit more punchy.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, it's a stunning wine, and also there's another comment from Steve here saying that he thinks he knows he met you at Royal Wine Fair, and in London, the Royal Wine Fair, and he says that the wine is even better than he remembers it being tasted back then.
Yeah, I remember him too.
Oh.
And just to touch on the vinification of the Chinon,
Yes.
I know you just used concrete, don't you? And you made the big switch from going from sort of old oak to concrete, and I think you can really feel that in your wines. There's a lot of freshness for Cabernet Franc.
Exactly. We're still learning with Nicolas, and because as well we've been traveling, and when we were at school, the teacher was telling us make a very concentrated wine, put it 2 years in barrels in new oak, okay, and try to sell it expensive, and then drink it in 20 years. For me, that's that philosophy, and that's what the teacher gave us at school has no sense. So we try to learn about it during our travel. We've seen a lot of extraction and oak, 200-300% new oak barrels, and when Nicolas come back in 2008. I used to come back sometimes as well to visit and to see him. He started back to using a bit of oak since 2009 to 2015. And after 2015, our thought was we try to make some Chinon fruit-driven, juicy, and we are fighting all year long to actually be able to have something straight, fresh, elegant, and try to have that expression of a Cabernet Franc, a real Cabernet Franc. And we are lucky as well because for our terroir, we are in argileux-Suisse, and the bottom is what we call millage, which is a sea sediment, like kind of yellow clay. A very friable yellow clay, and that gives us a very smooth Chinon as well. Intense, balanced, deep, but quite smooth. So we probably, if we put some oak in that terroir, we actually kind of taking over the wine. We have another terroir, one other cuvée in Chinon, which is called Montette, and where we have very calcaire and grave in top, 40 centimeters of grave, and that's by itself, it doesn't work. So we're actually doing a bit of oak aging in that cuvée. I've got nothing against oak aging, but I think we get for a terroir, it's good when it's balanced. And it's a bit the story about. But if not for the domain, we do everything in concrete tanks. We have small baby tanks, wider than higher. That's something we learned as well, because Cabernet Franc is tough to work with during maceration. If you get high tanks and not wide, your hat, the formation of your hat is doing a lot of compactation. It's very compact. So that compactation, when you actually do some compovers, you have that kind of draining, and that draining is always going through the same spot. And we prefer something wide, as that when we touch the hat during fermentation, it's actually floating. So you get that kind of infusion, less than that extracting like a coffee.
Yeah. And just to let you know, Sylvain, Xavier, Sylvain, there's some lovely comments coming in here. So Xavier, if your wines, I feel bad, I rushed off to show the bottle just so people can see how it looks like. But yeah, so first there's a mention from Blaise saying, thank you both so much. They're all impressive wines. And he loves the Touche Mitaine, sorry, my pronunciation. It was wonderfully fresh. And then there's Paddy at Phoenix, who's saying that he loves the label of Cuisine de ma Mère. And he's asking about your experience on your travels when you were kind of working in different places. And so he's just asking how that kind of added to how you make the wines.
Well, it's a long story. It's 20 years. But I started in Chile, where it was the start in 2000. It was the start of organic. I arrived in a small organic vineyard, and that was a quite interesting step, because I was 22 years old, and I wasn't speaking Spanish at all. It was just a very mad story. So, and the guys who actually contract me to make some wine was there, wanted to make the best wine in the world. Okay, so
quite a challenge.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, easy.
So you're crazy for it. You're all the time in it, and you don't sleep. You just try to get the best wine in the world. And after, yes, when you look back at it, it's not that easy. But it was very interesting to get that organic side. Then I went a bit in Argentina, in that aging as well. Very interesting wine. I thought it was Chile as well. Then I moved to Oregon. I loved Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
The Pinot was it was fantastic Pinot, and very good people. I really liked the area of Oregon. And then been back to Australia. More in the very big factory of wine, where for me it was interesting to coming back from a small winery of 7 hectares where we actually grew up with Nicolas, to arrive to get that other side, to actually be able to comment how both can be made, was very, very interesting. Big thanks. Big thanks. You're young. It's just,
no, I've seen it before, yeah.
Very fan of big tanks. And then you look back at it, and as I said, it was a lot of experience in wineries where we actually learned to try to look better at the vines and try to work very good at the vine. So we took experience from different spots for that, and to try to not overtake the oak on the wine, and really to try to respect the grapes. And yeah, and a lot of things, but I think we are not sure we have enough time. Come up and visit. We talk about.
Yeah, no, I want to.
When we can, we will. I promise we'll be back.
I've been threatening Emma to get a camper van, if you know what one of those are.
You get spot, yeah. Well, it's plenty space.
I think we'll be over soon.
And then we have another side as well. What we are trying to develop as well with Nicolas is that kind of polyculture. Try to do that biodynamic, because for us biodynamic go with polyculture. So we have 10 cows at home where we actually take care of it. They actually eat the grass, and we take care of them. We have some pigs coming up.
Oh, brilliant!
They will be in the forest, in the top of the hills.
Where you're going to take us truffle hunting one day.
The pigs will be just in the top of the truffle.
Okay.
In the forest.
Okay.
And harvest was good this year.
All right.
Yeah, really went.
With the dog, right?
Yeah, with my dad's dog. Yeah.
Took his collar off.
Yeah. Without the collar.
Sorry.
Without the dog collar. But
You took the dog collar off.
if I remember correctly, you said the dog collar keeps it in the property, but without it can't leave the property if it's wearing the collar. But one time it went wrong, I believe. But,
so we try to work on that with the bees as well. Try to make our to grow some wheat as well. We want at long term to grow our wheat, able to give that wheat to the pigs, and we're starting to grow some veggies as well.
oh, brilliant! Great.
The aim at really long time. It's because with Nicolas we have 2 kids. And the 2 kids each, we are more serious than Xavier. You have 3, huh? Really?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, we are more serious.
Good lockdowns, lots of good lockdowns.
And the aim is because there are 4 of us going at the same school, in the same class,
okay.
in the village. The aim is to try to give us some of our organic veggies and meat we actually growing, to introduce it to the school.
Oh,
that's nice. Yeah.
Fantastic.
To try to eat better. It's lovely ideas. We really want to do it, but it will be, I think, a lot of work before to achieve it. At least the team people, the team can eat well, and the families can eat well, and we'll try to
Fantastic.
give that to the schools.
And we've got some really good comments coming in. We've got Isabel loving all the wines. Is that?
And oh yeah, sorry. I think it was Lord Patry. Let me just say.
Sorry, I think that's Lord Patry from the social eating group, saying amazing wines.
Yeah.
Great comments by Blaze as well. Layla.
Yeah, Layla's saying that she loves the pet nat. She's trying the pet nat this evening, and she says she already loves the co as well. So Xavier, your co and pet nat, she's mentioning. And then there's Paola from Wilton's.
Yeah.
Who's saying that they love all your wines and how they express purity from the fruit, and so love both of your wines. And then also it says fantastic wines, and actually, there's a question here for Xavier afterwards, but before we go on to the question for you, Xavier, just Sylvain, could you tell us also about your Gabard and Clos de Noyer as well?
Different cuvées.
Yeah, for sure. Gabard, it's 12 different blocks around the winery. That represents 6.5 hectares. We are very lucky because at the winery we never had remembrement. How can you translate that?
What's that? Say it again.
Remembrement.
Remembrement.
Xavier, do you know remembrement?
I don't know.
Remembrement, it's sometime when a lot of people get heritage. You have or not when you have a lot of different blocks. Okay, different side, people just destroy all of that different frontier, but make a big block.
Okay.
You know, square, straight, and that's good for the tractor. We never had that around Le Pressoir. The selection of the blocks it's from the 15th century. So never been removed all of that different terroir.
The same locations.
Yeah, so that gives us the luck that normally at the 15th century they were quite smart and they're looking very observative for the different terroir and spots. So we have the luck that we never had that. So we have 10 different blocks who have different maturity for Gabard, and we pick everything separate, everything separate in concrete tanks, and then we actually blend them.
Okay. Gosh.
Okay. We do not have sulfur at the picking. We had a touch of sulfur just last week in Gabard, and normally it's very, very, very low. We do spontaneous as well.
And
you've got some, I think, single vineyards as well. Yes. We actually had a bottle a couple of weeks ago. We found it in the office, an old vintage.
I think you gave us an old bottle, and it was spectacular.
I can't remember what it was.
Which
it was
vintage was it that we had?
I think it was maybe 13.
Yeah, it was some
or 14.
Yeah,
13 or 14.
And it was absolutely fantastic.
Beautiful, really cool.
Maybe it was.
Pardon?
Maybe Clos du Noyer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was.
Clos du Noyer, it's a small block just under the truffle trees. It's 1.2 hectares, and it's more clayful soil with argillaceous on top, but give more acidity and straighter wine as well. And then we have another one which is called Clôture. Clôture, it's a new cuvée as well. We actually going to start selling in I think in this winter. And it's a single vineyard of half an hectare as well, with some vine planted in between 1905 and 1910. So we actually do the same as Xavier, do all of our massal selection, moving to we do a massal selection from that vineyard to plant everything we are planting now. We are planting as well with a higher density than what they used to plant before. Before they used to be at 4,500, and now we are around 5,500.
Gosh. Well, truly though, the wines. Thank you so much for these wines this evening, and just I'm really missing being over there, to be honest with you. We really look forward to coming and seeing you, and seeing Clemence and seeing Nicolas as well, and just catching up with you all. And there's a lovely comment here, Xavier, as well from Mark, who says, "I've just been judging a wine competition, but he can't say which one. and the Touche Métain came out top for the blind tasting. So just to let you know. But thank you. I'm going to show the two bottles again because I think they look lovely too. So there are the wines. Well, some of the wines, some of your many wines, but and then Paddy's just added a comment as well. He says the white from Xavier. Well, your whites have gorgeous nose, very floral, and beautifully structured and integrated, and that your Chinon Sylvain, that you have a lovely kind of cassis and violet nose and great freshness, and all of your wines are lovely. So I think that's a nice note to finish on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having you on tonight. So we just had another one. Thank you, all the wine from Emma and Louise. Thank you. All the wines have been delicious. And Laure Patry, thank you so much for the trip to the Loire. I think, Laure, you are originally from the Loire, aren't you? Can't wait to go back.
So brilliant.
Right.
Well, thank you to you two guys. For me, it was good to practice a bit my English.
Oh, it's perfect.
Very good. It's very good.
Perfect.
Very
We
good.
do, we do.
It was good to practice because we're missing that and because we're not traveling, and I think we try to yeah, it's good, always good to practice, and I really want to go back to London soon. Would be great.
Yeah.
We want
Look
that
forward to
to-
having you here.
We hope spring 2022 for a tasting with everybody together again. So we cross our fingers. On croit les doigts. À bientôt.